welcome back. It's Janelle from Infinite Potential Healing, and today I just wanted to have a quick chat about something that I have observed a lot of my friends and some of my clients going through lately, and it's definitely something that I have dealt with in the past myself. And that is sometimes when we are dealing with really heavy situations, really heavy, really challenging, really negative energy, we tend to take that on and take it in and take it to heart. And we also feel like it colors other people's perceptions of us. And in reality, it doesn't. We walk around so oblivious to other people so much of the time that we don't know what they're going through, they don't know what we're going through, and they definitely are not seeing us through the same lens of perception that we are seeing ourselves. But when we're dealing with so much heaviness, so much ugliness, so much negativity, so much of a challenging situation, we absolutely tend to kind of make that part of our identity and part of our own persona. I went through a very lengthy custody battle with my son's father for over 11 years, and it was really nasty, just the worst of the worst. And during that time, I did not want to have my picture taken, certainly did not want to be on video, didn't want to kind of put myself out there because I felt like people could look at the pictures of me and see all of that icky, sticky, negative, harsh energy that was going on around me and was so prevalent and really predominant in my world for that length of time. But the reality is, when I look back at those pictures, I don't see that anymore because I've healed past and moved through that particular trauma. And other people probably never saw it, and they certainly never saw what I did. But especially when trauma is new, is acute, is fresh, or is unprocessed, that really makes us feel like other people can see all of those circumstances around us, and it really colors our perception of ourselves. I have a very dear friend who had a very tragic accident, a fall earlier this year. And with that fall, she had some AJ.
I'm just gonna have it keep running and I can cut it out. I'm so done with this fucking animal.
He literally came out of another dimension.
No, he did. I didn't even hear him. Okay, you keep going down. Okay, let me not make any more noise. And continue when you are ready.
I have a very dear friend who had a terrible fall that was absolutely an accident earlier this year. And in that fall, she fell and did some severe damage to her face. She had several facial fractures, and of course, as you can imagine, a lot of swelling, a lot of bruising. And she really felt, as she started to heal, that her smile looked differently than it had in the past. And I could look at it and I could see it, and all I saw was her light, her, natural beauty, her, inherent, beautiful personality shining through. But when she saw pictures of herself, she felt like her smile looked differently. And that makes a lot of sense because her smile was different before, because she hadn't gone through this terrible, terrifying, tragic accident that she hadn't even begun to process because she was still very much in the early stages of her healing, her physical healing journey, much less her, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing journeys. And, she had to really kind of wrap her head around that, no, everybody else is not seeing what I'm seeing. But the version of her that existed before this terrible fall and the version of her that exists now are actually two very different people, because in a way, the version of her that existed before isn't with us anymore, because now there's been this experience, these circumstances that have changed and shaped who she is. And sometimes we have a little bit of a pause or a delay as we process that differing reality from, how things actually are to how we thought they were going to be. For myself, when I was going through, that horrible, nasty, bitter custody battle, I just felt like all of the ugliness of, what people were saying about me, predominantly the other side, what was being said about me in court, on the record, all of these horrible accusations and allegations. I felt like other people could see that, in my smile, in my photos, in, images and videos of me. And the reality is that they couldn't. But because the version of myself that existed before all of those horrific things were said, before I was in a position where I was literally fighting for custody of my child, in all of the things that, I had to come to terms with, that weren't going to be the way that I thought that they were going to be before this custody battle, kind of ramped up and took over my life and was really front and center in my existence for a long time. Those are very different versions of me, because what I had imagined, what I had envisioned, what I had pictured, what I had hoped for is absolutely not what happened. And it was a jarring difference. And with that jarring difference, it really made me feel like that was visible to other people. And then, of course, any of us that have had trauma backgrounds at all, myself, I'm the adult child of an alcoholic, so, I've got a little bit of a trauma background there. We tend to take on and take in and take personally those circumstantial situations that happen in our lives. And then we also tend to take on, take in, and take personally the energy of those situations, when really it's not ours to take, it's not ours to wear, it's not ours to hold. So if you find yourself going through something that is maybe coloring your perception of self, and you're having a hard time integrating the version of you that was with the version of you that is, give yourself a break and give yourself some space. Breathe through it, grieve what you've lost, but also realize that nobody else can see what you're going through, because God knows if we could see what other people were going through, we might all just have a little bit more kindness and a little bit more compassion in this world. But in terms of, the energetic impression or the energetic footprint, the spiritual truth of who you are, your inner light, is always going to radiate through your physical being much more loudly and much more accurately than any of the circumstances that you might find yourself in, than anything that you have to heal from or integrate or anything else. So give yourself a break. Don't judge yourself so harshly, and know that even though it might feel like you are just smothered under the energetics of whatever situation that you're dealing with, especially when it's something so heavy and so harsh, it feels like that, but it's not the reality that other people perceive. So challenge yourself so that you can perceive yourself through an accurate light as well.